Hey, what's going on, guys? So welcome to the first work in progress video on the Rescue Labor 5DR. So if you guys remember, this is a 1/35 scale full resin kit here. I did an unboxing for this before, and what I've done in the meantime is gone ahead and start separating out the parts just according to the instructions. So in today's video, basically we're just gonna start the assembly. And now that I've gone through and taken a look at all the parts in more close detail, as I've sorted through everything and got everything all sorted out, checked all the parts and everything, I can tell you guys that aside from removing the main excess here that we have to get rid of, there's just a little bit of flash here and there, but otherwise I think the cleanup on this is gonna go pretty smoothly for the most part. It's not like terrible mold lines or anything anywhere. So speaking with the KOMBINAT, the producer of the kit, about that, he said that one of the reasons why he separated the pieces out into so many separate pieces that makes the kit more expensive because it's just more parts, but it also means you're able to avoid more mold lines, and you're also have an easier time to paint the kit when you just have more pieces if you want to paint the pieces all separately and then do your final assembly. But for me, I'm gonna be just assembling it all at once and then just gonna be painting it at the end, just like kind of in major sections. And so our first step here is starting off just with the foot. Now I'm not gonna go through every single step and every single part in the construction of this, but we'll just go through a few here at the start just so you guys can kind of get the idea of how it's going. So we're taking the foot piece and attaching these bits here onto the side. So we just need to cut off this excess here, which I'm just gonna do the main cutting with my big old saw. Then we just need to finish cleaning up that last little bit there. And once we have those two bits cleaned up pretty well, then we can go ahead and attach these parts here onto the side. Now these I think I can just clip off of here, and then we can do our cleanup on these. So pretty easy little circle bits there. And to be clear, even though I'm saying that the cleanup on this seems pretty minimal, once we get to actually priming the kit, I may find out that there's gonna be little bits of mold line, or just little imperfections, maybe something that I'm gonna have to putty in, something like that later on once I get to priming it. So there may be more cleanup required later on, but for now, yeah, it seems pretty straightforward. So you can go ahead and glue these guys into place just using a little bit of super glue. From that little test fit that you guys just saw me do, they actually fit in there quite snugly without any glue. I mean, I'm definitely gonna have to glue it, but pretty nice snug fit in there just as it is. So there you go. Alright, and with that, step one is done and we're underway. Alright, moving on to step two. Alright, step two is a sub-assembly here, which is specific for the left and the right side. So like this one is labeled A7L, so we know that this one is for the left side, the other one is A7R. And the two panels that go on the side of there are A8L and A8R. So you have one for the left side, one for the right side on that particular section. And then we have this little guy here, A3, which is just going to pop into the back of there, right in there. So yeah, we just need to remove this excess first. This one's gonna be, again, relatively easily. This side panel, we need to cut off this section down here, but then there's also this section here on the back that needs to be removed. That might be a little bit more tricky. We'll just have to cut that down, saw that down, file that down. It shouldn't be too bad. Alright, and once those parts are all cleaned up, you can see how this one even has this little groove here on the inside, which will fit in line with that line right there, just so you know that your alignment is just right, and that will line up with this hole here on the side. So those should line up. This hole I had to cut out. So on the part as it's molded like that, this kind of support piece there on the back, just to make sure that it's molded straight and everything runs through that opening. So once I removed that as access here on the back, then had to just cut out that hole again, but pretty simple because the resin's super thin there. So that piece fits onto the side. This piece fits down into the center like that, which is going to fit into our foot piece like that later on. For the next step, we're going to need one of these here, A10, and one of these, A11, which, as you can see, are going to be maybe a little bit more complicated to cut out. Just need to cut this way, cut here, Just kind of get the main sections out, and then we can cut more closely around the part. This one should be pretty simple. It's just this circular piece here. We just need to cut that off right there. Alright, those are all cleaned up. And there we go. There's the next part all done. Now, this is for the left side. We'll have to repeat this in the opposite form for the right side then still. Up next then, we're going to attach what are basically kind of like the toe parts here. A5, A6, A4. Pretty straightforward on these. Just need to cut off this excess right here, and these will just be glued onto the foot assembly, right? And while just doing my test fitting on there, these side toes fit in there so tightly, I don't even think I really even need to glue those. So those are not going to be going anywhere. This part needs to be glued, the bottom of the foot and then the front of the toe. These ones, like the side toes are fixed pose, like they fit in there a certain angle and there's no way around that. I guess it wouldn't be too difficult to modify if you wanted to, but the front toe also has like a tiny little square bit on the sides that should fit into place to know like kind of exactly where that's supposed to go. But this bottom part, the angle is not necessarily set, so I'm gonna not glue that quite yet until I've figured out the base for it and like I know exactly the angle that I want that to be at, because right now it basically seems like it should be something like this. But you know, for example, if it's like stepping on a large stone or something, then it needs to be at a little bit different angle. So I'm just gonna not glue that for the time being, but those toes on there do look pretty cool. That said, after that whole spiel, if I went ahead and looked at the next step, there is actually a hydraulic cylinder that connects these parts there, so I guess the angle is going to be a little bit more fixed. Unless I wanted to modify that, then this is going to be a fixed angle just by setting that piece in there. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so there we have it. I had a little mishap with that, but I was able to get that in and sorted out. Now the last thing we have here for the foot assembly is this part. The hydraulic tube here, F1L, is molded onto this whole big section here, so I need to separate this kind of hose part from all of this, and that's gonna be a little bit tricky, I feel like, so let's just go ahead and try it. Okay, and hope for the best, but pretty unsurprisingly, I did manage to break the tube part. Fortunately, it's a pretty clean break, and once it's glued on, it should look fine. But if we need to go ahead and add a little putty or something later on, that's fine too. So this basically just is going to fit right over the top of the foot part like that, and then our other half, which should have been the same half, wraps around the back side like so, like that. So this one, while the other pieces did kind of like have specific slots where they slot into place, not exactly snap fit, but something along those lines. In this case though, this one doesn't necessarily like fit into a slot or anything anywhere. You just kind of have to place it where it's meant to go. So alright guys, it's going to make for a short episode to get us started off, but I just wanted to give you guys a taste of how the construction is going so far. I'll work a little bit more on this, and then we'll get caught up in the next episode working on the legs, and then that'll probably be enough for that episode, and then we'll have to do another episode once we get to the body. But for now, I just wanted to let you guys kind of see how the construction is starting off. As you can see, it's a pretty cool looking kit so far. I can't wait to get some primer on it and start to get it painted. But for now, thank you guys for checking out the video. And again, big thank you to KOMBINAT for the experience. I'll put a link to his website in the video description. You guys can check that out. But till next time, guys, have a great day. See y'all later. Bye.